Hello, hello. Welcome um, to this week's Facebook Live. I've had a bit of a busy day, so I think, and even after work, so I think I've got everything I need to do tonight's card. So let me just get my computer working just so that I can see your comments. And I'll mute that one. Okay, we're good. All right, so I want to share with you actually the stamp set and bundle I'm using isn't actually from the mini catalogue. It's from next month, so the March online exclusive. So let me share these with you. So I'll be using the Forever Florals stamp set and the coordinating dies. So the font in this stamp set is really beautiful. You also have some leaves and some flowers, some dots and things which go in the center of the leaves. This one, on this particular card, I'm mainly using the sentiments because they are really quite beautiful. I do want to take a moment to share with you the dies. So as I mentioned, these will be available next month. So these dies, there's actually a nice big background one. Let me just lift this one up to show you just on its own. So that is that one, which cuts out the most beautiful, delicate background. Plus you also get some of the dies that coordinate with the stamps. You get another floral die, plus you get the leaves as well, and some dies to cut out some of the different tags, which these sentiments here fit in the tags. Okay, so let me just pop this aside. And I've got a quick couple of reminders just before I make the card for you. So, of course, during this month, if you decide to join my team, you can get this Stamp and Positioner tool as an added bonus as a part of your kit. So this is the tool here, and last Tuesday I did share a video with how to use this tool. So if you've missed that Facebook Live, the replay is available if you'd like to take a look at that. And there's a couple of different quite simple things you can do with this, this positioning tool to make your stamping, I guess, a little bit easier. So particularly if you don't have a lot of strength in your hands, or perhaps you have you don't have the dexterity, this is a tool that's going to be really helpful for you. So for the time being, you get this as an added bonus with your starter kit if you sign up and join my team this month. Okay, so the cost of that's $169. You get the, so you're looking at $235 worth of product that you get to choose. Plus you have the positioning tool on top of it. So you're looking at over $300 value. Okay, so that is my first reminder. My second, for those who earned bonus days coupons during January, now is the time to redeem those. So you do have until the 28th of Feb to redeem those. If you don't do them in that time, you will lose them. So please be aware of that. Okay, the card that I'm going to show you is this one just here. Now, this is a little smaller than our standard size. I have trimmed my card to fit this die. This is more of the size for the US size card, and they don't use A4 paper. They use a slightly different size. So I have just trimmed a little bit off my card, and let me show you with the envelope. So I've trimmed 1 centimetre or so off my actual card base to make that fit nicely. So the papers I have used are from the mini catalogue, and so these papers are called Mixed Up Patterns, which are on page 65 of the mini catalogue. So I have used my sample, I've used this yellow, I guess, little starburst sort of pattern. The card I'm making tonight, I'm using a different coloured cardstock, which is the one with this blue with the white flowers. So it's going to be the same card, just a different colour. Hi Mandy, thank you for joining me. Okay, so I'm going to share with you the products needed. So for this one, I used Daffodil Delight. I've got my Balmy Blue to go with the blue cardstock. Okay, so I've got a few things in here. I think I've got everything. So I do have my card base, which is slightly shorter than our standard size. So I'm not, let me just measure this for you. So we've got the 21 centimeters by 13.8. So normally that'd be 14.9. So I've cut about a centimeter off just to allow the die to fit on a little bit better. So for the inside of the card, I have my piece of balmy blue, which measures 10 centimeters by 13.4. I do also have here, when I can grab it, a piece of white that mats onto the top here. Now, of course, with this card, you could do the standard size. I just prefer there not to be such a big gap. I do have a piece of the designer series paper, and so this one is the same size, I'm pretty sure. Yes, it's 10 by 13.4, which is the same size as my balmy blue. I have done ahead of time my die cutting, which is that nice big background die. So with this one, you might notice after you've cut them out, you'll just need to grab your piercing tool and just poke through any of those little bits of the confetti that are still sitting in that die cut. But this one actually cuts pretty clean. Being quite intricate, one of the things that I do is I run it through the Big Shot once and then go back through a second time just to make sure that all of these little intricate pieces are cut out properly. Okay. I've also got a die cut tag from the same set of dies. So let me grab them again. So I've used the wider tag here for this one, and I've used the large background die. I've got a few different pieces of baker's twine so that I can, just the white baker's twine for my card. And I've also got here as well 3 of the little pearls just to finish it off. Okay, so let's make a start on this one. So first thing I'm going to do is stick my frame onto my piece of designer series paper. I am going to be using some little drops of Tombow. You can use the fine tip glue as well, but Tombow is what I have sitting on my table. So you don't want to put too much on. So I'm just going to put some little drops on. As you know, Tombow, if you use too much, you do get sort of oozing a little bit. But with this one, with the leaves and the little flowers, there is enough space to be able to just do some little dots of the glue. Don't forget that little bit around the edges as well, just so that the edges stick down nicely too. And when I'm doing these little drops of the Tombow, I'm not using too much pressure. I'm letting gravity do the job a little bit more. Okay, I think that's going to be enough. Oops, a bit too much of a smear there. Okay, and then this is going straight over the top of my piece of designer series paper. And I'm just going to gently pat that down just to make sure that sticks. And there's a few spots that it's a little bit sticky, so I've had a little bit of the Tombow oozing, but that will dry clear, so I'm not too worried about that at all. Okay, so simple so far. Right, before I move on to the next bit, I am going to use my baker's twine. So I've got two pieces in my kit. I've got a longer one and a shorter one. So I'm actually going to be using the shorter one first. And let me see if I can find my sticky tape, which I don't think I can. So I'm going to use a little bit of double-sided tape instead. So for my shorter piece, I'm folding that in half, and about halfway or at the middle of the card, I'm going to tuck it behind and stick it in place. Now, normally I'd use sticky tape, but the sticky tape is way down the other end of the table, so I'm going to just use some double-sided tape instead, if I can get that to stick and not stick to my finger. There we go. And the same for the other side. A little bit of, this is tear and tape. As I mentioned, normally I would use sticky tape for this, but it is down the other end of the table and I can't quite reach it. Okay, simple so far. All right, my next bit is my little bit of stamping. So I do have my tag and I'm going to get my stamp out, which is Thinking of You. And I do like using Thinking of You because it's suitable for quite a few occasions. So I've got my Thinking of You just down here. Because you could add an extra sentiment on the inside. You know, you could do Thinking of You on your birthday, or if you've got a friend or a family member who's kind of been going through a little bit of a rough time, a nice Thinking of You card will brighten their day, I'm sure. Okay, so I've got my stamp. I've got my Balmy Blue ink, which is the same colour as the blue in the paper. I'm just going to get a piece of scrap paper just to ink and stamp first. Which, of course, with the glass mat, you can do that on the glass mat, but I know what I'm like. If I stamped on the glass mat to make sure I was happy with how it was stamping, I'd end up then smearing that ink on everything else. So that's why I always just grab out a piece of scrap paper. Okay, so re-inking and stamping the sentiment. A little bit of pressure in the middle. And there we have that sentiment, which is such a beautiful sentiment and a beautiful font. Okay, next. I am going to be sticking my sentiment in the middle of the card, and I'm going to use some dimensionals for that. Here we go. So I do have some minis here, which I tend to use these more now than the standard size ones, but it's always good to have both ready to use. Okay, and I think that'll do. I'm not going to put any in the middle because that is where the baker's twine will sit, and so if there's none in the middle there, it won't get too lumpy and bumpy. It will all sit nice and flat. And of course, using the Take Your Pick tool to flick up all of those little covers. Okay, so this is just going in the middle. So this has it's quite a delicate sort of card because you do have that, even though it's quite a busy die, it's got a nice delicate feel to it. Okay, let's bring in the rest of the card and then we'll do the last bits on the card front. So, of course, it will be folding the card base in half. And for the inside, I've got my piece of Balmy Blue and white. So I'm going to use, as I usually do, some Stampin' Seal. And of course, you don't need too much pressure when you're using Stampin' Seal. And just remember that little flick of the wrist or little tick just to break the stream of the adhesive. You might find if you don't do that, it kind of stretches out like bubble gum. So just that little tiny flick of the wrist is all you need. To begin with, I know some people have struggled a little bit using stamp and seal, but once you get the technique down, it's absolutely amazing stuff to use. Okay, so that is the inside complete. Of course, before I give this card to somebody, I'd probably stamp an extra sentiment on the inside, just so that there's something more in the card. Okay, so I am now going to be sticking this piece onto my card front. Again, I'm going to use some dimensionals. And this is a nice quick card to make. I haven't done the die cutting, but even with doing your bit of die cutting with this, it's still going to add probably 10 minutes onto the time it takes to make your card. Because just using that amazing die is that's sort of the base of the card, is the die. And once it's gone through the big shot and you've got little pieces of confetti out of it, you're ready to use it, which is really great. And I also like to, most of you know by now, I do really enjoy making cards that are a little bit more simple. I like to share cards that I know that you will be able to make at home as well. Okay, so that is going onto my card front. The next piece I'm using is my longer piece of baker's twine. So I have folded that in half. Now at this point you can tie your bow and then stick it onto the card front using a glue dot. What I'm actually going to do, when I just find my tweezers, I'm going to slide my tweezers underneath that bit of baker's twine. I'm going to pick up the second piece just to make it easy to drag that through, and then I'm tying my bow directly onto my first piece of the baker's twine. So this is just a shoelace bow. Okay, just getting my fingers to work a little bit tonight. There we go. And it's just a simple trim up when you're happy with how your bow's looking. Now, if you want to just tie your bow, you can do that and just pop a glue dot underneath it to stick it to the card front. So trimming up the little tails. This is such a pretty die. Okay, final thing I need to do is my little pearls. And I do have the lid for the piercing tool somewhere on my table, but my table kind of got a bit messy and I haven't got around to tidying it up again. But I think we all fall into that trap. Okay, so using the putty end, I'm just going to slide my little pearls off and place them onto my card front. Of course, when that bit of putty on your putty end gets a little bit dirty or dry, just pinch it off and give the top part of the putty, give that a little twist, and you'll get fresh putty coming out. Okay, and one more, and then we are done. So just while I'm doing this, a couple of other things as well that I was meant to do, just basic printout with some information about retreat. I do have all of the information about retreat under the events section on my Facebook page. So registration closes for retreat on the 28th of February. So that's the end of the month. I will be sharing the event a few more times as well between now and then, just to give people reminders, because I'd really love to see you at retreat. Also, I've got some classes coming up as well, which again, I've forgotten to do the printout because it was a little bit of a hectic afternoon after work. But please keep an eye on my Facebook page. I'll be sharing those event details with you very, very soon, which includes a card buffet class at the end of the month as well, which are always fun to do. So that is what I have to share with you for tonight. So this is using the... let me just find it. Forever Florals stamp set and coordinating dies. These will be available for you to purchase in early early March. So they're part of the online exclusives, and they really do create some beautiful cards. So thank you so much for joining me. Thanks so much, Mandy. I hope you've enjoyed seeing this card being made. It looks a lot more difficult than what it truly is, but the die does all of the hard work for us. So thanks again, everyone, for watching. And if you're watching on replay, thank you for taking time to watch. And of course, if you're watching on YouTube, thank you for taking the time to watch my video. So take care, everyone. Stay cool tomorrow. It's going to be Total Fire Band Day here where I am in Victoria. So stay safe and stay cool. And I hope you'll join me on Thursday for another Facebook Live. So I'll see you all then. Thanks again, everyone. Bye-bye.